Okay. Escapism. I think escapism is easily the most major theme in Gakkou Gurashi, if not one of the most major themes in the show. I think seeing in how it relates to not only the main character Yuki, but also the rest of the cast who using Yuki as a method for escapism. I think that's at its core a very important thing to look at in the show. So Yuki Takeya, she's a very good person, definitely not perfect by any stretch. She's very chipper, kind of lazy. She's very much like the emotional core of the group that they all hold on to. And escapism relates to her in probably the most obvious way, in that she retreats into her own mind to sort of push out all of the negative things surrounding them. While in her case it's a bit excessive, I think it's something we can still apply to the general person. There's a moment in the manga where Yuki is talking with Miki and reveals that she's aware of the others arguing at night and realizes they're stressed and she just wants to do her best to make them happy. And I feel like that's a big part of why she acts the way she does. It's not only a selfish thing, but it's also a way to make things easier on the group. I feel there's something realistic in that. If you're talking with a group of friends, there's a hesitation to bring the mood down by bringing up your own issues. So you just push those thoughts to the side and sometimes forget about them. So in the case of something like ReZero in Isekai, which is a very escapist sort of genre, think something like Sword Art Online, where you kind of place yourself in the main character's shoes and experience the world through them. But in ReZero, there's a moment where the main character sort of rants on about how he did nothing before coming here and still feels about as useless, and feels like he had wasted his life. It's very obviously a call out to its fan base, because that's the character you project yourself onto, and while I do enjoy that, I think a lot of these examples that you find in anime tend to be outright criticisms or just pure indulgence, and I feel like lampooning your audience can be just as bad as glamorizing indulgence. It's never really as simple as, go outside, stop watching anime, playing games, etc. There's a bit more to it, and I think laying it out too strong can cause pushback. I know for myself personally, I have a tendency to reject things presented to me in this kind of way. It's definitely a flaw, and I wish I wasn't always like that, but it's still something I can't exactly help. But what's special about Yuki's situation is that the others allow and benefit from Yuki's escapist indulgence. It's presented as something with potential good, but also drawbacks. Miki being the major critic about all of this, especially in the manga, is about as far as the show goes to explore the criticism. There's a codependent relationship among the group, which can appear toxic, but considering the situation they're in, it's hard to really look at this as an objectively good or bad thing. There's a subtle enough difference in how this is showcased, and that allows me to sort of engage with this problem myself and come to my own conclusion. With myself, escapism is something I've always sort of struggled with, I guess. As a child, it was always a specific video game, or it'd be cartoons, and even growing into adult life, I always found something to distract myself from things I either did not care about or things I actively was trying to avoid. Early adulthood, it'd be more specifically something like Pokemon, where I would play that competitively and get super into it. I would know way too much about it, and that would move on to a TV show or an anime, and then that would move on to Smash, which I practiced a lot, and I would go to tournaments once a week, and mind you, all this is fine, of course, but I feel like every time my interest wades in one of these, there's always going to be something else to fall back onto. And it's really never something I was able to get away from. I was never able to realize, as it's happening, that I'm basically distracting myself from things that are more important that I need to worry about and focus on. The thing is that when you just avoid these things, that problems don't just go away. they need to be dealt with. So in Yuki's situation, there's two moments that I think really sort of capture my feelings on her. At the very beginning, at the end of the first episode, you see her in front of the window, and it's just this eerily quiet, like you just hear wind and her closing the window, and the window is obviously broken, so it's really just reflecting just how broken her mind is at that moment, and it's sort of invokes this feeling of pity. You're on the outside looking into somebody dealing with this problem. And as the show goes on, you learn more about her and the other characters, and then they recreate this scene, but in the other way, to where the window is closed in episode 10, and it's cracked and it's raining outside, and the music cuts off as she just realizes that the window is broken. It's such a similar moment, but it evokes such a different response, because after experiencing that time with her and the other characters, it's something you don't want to end. You don't want them to realize what is going on. You want them to stay in that false perspective. I think that's really what hits me really hard about that scene. It makes me think like am I wrong for thinking this way? And this sort of reflects, I guess, how I feel about my own situation. And what I like so much about Yuki specifically is that she finds a way out of this situation. The way she makes it out of it, she just deals with the tougher situation and accepts it, and then that in turn allows her to realize something, and it's something that once communicated, I realized that I was never even thinking about. When you push out all of these negative feelings, like if I'm actively trying to avoid a conversation with my parents or something, what you're not realizing about that is that in only thinking of the negative things and pushing them away, you forget all of the benefits that come with that, all of the positives that come with the negatives. And, I realized that if one of my family members were to pass away, I may not feel anything, because I don't allow myself to feel for them, because I'm trying to push away any sort of negative tie that I would have. And in seeing Yuki be able to push through this and learn this lesson and sort of and pass it on to others while still being able to retain the core part of her personality that makes her, it just gives me hope, I guess. It gives me something to look to and be inspired by.
Hi, I'm Holly from the extremely funny YouTube channel Weeb Waifu. If you liked what you see, consider supporting Urban on Patreon. Patrons receive a special role in Urban's Discord server, a name in the credits, and have a chance to read off the end screen in future videos just like I'm doing. Feel free to become a part of the fan base by joining the Discord server or by following Urban on Twitter. Links to everything mentioned are in the description. Thanks for watching!